Write what you know. It is one of the most overstated pieces of advice blurted to every writer ever. You've heard it, I've heard it. And when applied correctly, it is useful advice. One of my favorite writing YouTubers, Writing with Andrew, recently made a video arguing that most of the knowing comes after you start writing. He gives the stressed writer permission to write first and study as they progress their draft. Someone who adheres too closely to the write what you know principle might tell you that you cannot write a story in 8th century Ming Dynasty China because you are an old British man who writes fantasy books. But Guy Gabriel Kay wrote Under Heaven and it was amazing. For fantasy writers, this advice causes a bit of a problem. Even if you allow yourself to write first and learn during the process, we can't escape the fact that none of us have ever come face to face with a dragon. But when you boil down these fantastical, unknowable narrative beats to their core, you might be surprised at how much you already know. But before I tell you how to do this, we need to hear a word from our sponsor. Me! I'm not going to do that whole pre-roll that I usually do. I just wanted to show you that the summer 2025 issue of the Literary Fantasy magazine is basically about done. You can order the DRM-free digital copies now on my website, or you could wait for the paperback release on July 31st. It's pretty good. I got a couple more things I need to correct in this proof copy, but I'm pretty excited for some of the stuff that we have in here. Also, since so many of you seem to be enjoying my videos lately, I decided to move my blog over to Substack. So you can read all the same stuff for free, but if you want to support the channel or want to have your own writing analyzed by me, there are subscription tiers that allow those things to happen. The point of Write What You Know is to encourage writers to harness genuine human experience to create authentic narratives. But how do we do this when imagining situations a human has never been through? Let's go back to my dragon example. Sure, dragons don't exist, but I'm confident that you have experienced an unexpected obstacle in your life that was utterly terrifying and perhaps even life-threatening. By harnessing that core human experience, unexpected mortal terror in this case, the fantastic narrative object, a dragon, has become a symbol for that core human experience. Further, a lot of fantasy stories are heavily concerned with overland travel. It's often joked that 90% of The Lord of the Rings was just people walking around. Sure, perhaps you haven't crossed an entire country on foot, but most people have gone on a road trip, taken a long flight, or even a tiring hike through the woods. Yeah, people do that, and it is fun. You should try it. It's not that much of a stretch to adapt your lived experiences into the format that your story requires. If all else fails, turn to creative nonfiction. As I discussed in my previous video, Inspiration for Fantasy Writers, historical travel and nature writing reads remarkably like fantasy. Such texts are great resources to pull from to research details and nuances for living in a specific historical period. And if you're writing fantasy, you're more than likely targeting a specific feel of a historical period. Most of us do medieval Europe, but there's a lot of really great fantasy that does other periods and places. Guy Gabriel Kay, for example, or Marlon James's excellent North African mythology-inspired fantasy. This book's brutal, but it's so good. But what if you wanted to write something that you have no lived equivalent for, such as going to war? How does a 20-something creative writing student write a compelling tale about soldiers? Well, you might not be able to. But there is another brilliant wellspring of ideas, inspiration, and perspectives. Other people! I've found many people are happy to talk about their experiences and tell their stories when I've asked. All you have to do is ask! To write soldiers in my fantasy, I've asked my family members and friends who are veterans about their experiences, and I listen. And I try to relate my own lived experiences to what they lived through to find some sort of parallel so I can write what I know. This gives me multiple angles to find my own voice in scenarios I've never experienced. Subject matter experts are also very helpful. In one of my works in progress, there is a character who is a ceramic potter in a remote village tucked away in the tallest mountains of the region. I had done research on how medieval Nordic villages were built and maintained. I also, in isolation, researched redware and earthenware and how red clay has been used for thousands of years to create really useful ceramics. Recently, I had the opportunity to speak with the owner of a local ceramic studio, and she told me that redware doesn't really exist in Nordic countries. Her expert knowledge filled a gap in my research and left me with something to consider. Though I'm basing the culture of my fantasy on the Nordic countries in the medieval period, the geography of my fantasy setting that I write about most is more similar to Kentucky, Indiana, and Michigan. If those states were shaped like the Mediterranean, Middle East, and North Africa, that's basically what my setting is, so red clay would have been in abundance. I haven't solved this problem yet, but I'm much better off now that I've spoken with someone who knows what they're talking about. When it comes to being a person going through extenuating circumstances, you know more than you think. Oil down your lived experiences to their core elements and apply them to the fantastic elements unfolding in your fantasy. When all else fails, do some research and ask someone who knows more. That's all there is to it, folks. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video so you don't miss the next one. Be sure to check out The Arcanist. We publish brand new fantasy stories every other week on our website, and our summer 2025 issue is coming out on the 31st. But if you're impatient, you can go to our website now, and subscribers get it right now for the DRM free ebooks. Pretty good deal. If you enjoy what I do and want to support the channel further, please consider checking out my Substack. I just finished importing all of my other blog posts from previous videos, and the video scripts will be turned into blog posts as usual for free users. Paid subscribers will have early access to my videos and access to exclusive posts on the Substack. There's also a founding tier which I believe has lifetime access to all the paid subscriber benefits, but you also get a 10,000 word manuscript analyzed and annotated by me. If you're having some trouble writing your new project, and want to have some educated, experienced eyes on them, well, I'm your guy. Sorry for the delay on this video. I think July is my busiest month ever. On top of that, we have been deathly ill with the summer plague for over a week now, so it has been pretty tough getting this video out. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I will probably see you in 2 weeks, or a little sooner if you're on Substack.